Washington's clear-thinking headquarters.
The Morning Majority, 5 to 9 on 630 WMAM.
637 Morning Majority. Brian Neiman, Mary Catherine Ham in this morning from the Daily Caller. Lanny Davis, former Clinton White House counsel, joins us now. Lanny, I always look forward to reading your column, Purple Nation. There's no column this week. What are you, getting lazy?
Well, every time I tried to write a column to explain what is going on in Washington, I was looking at a blank page.
Right. Well, that may not be a bad thing, though, Lanny.
No, I had a young one with strep throat, and my deadline came and went, and I called, and they gave me relief for this week, but I told them I would at least verbally tell everyone through WMAL's vast audience what I would have written.
Right.
So here I
think you should call it performance art in honor of the possible government shutdown.
Oh, I guess that means you're a non-essential employee then, if you didn't have to show up and to write the column. All right, I want to ask you about this because you have been a champion of the Simpson-Bowles Debt Commission, right? I mean, you say, hey, we need to tackle this problem, and hey, we had a commission that studied this, and let's actually follow some of the rules or some of the recommendations that they brought down. What do you make of Paul Ryan's 2012 budget, which certainly tackles our debt problem?
Well, I give him a lot of credit, and I think he's an intellectually honest person who has taken on a lot of the third rails that Democrats are, I don't think, being honest about. So I give him, I was going to write the column today, actually, with the headline, 1.5 cheers for Paul Ryan. So my 1.5 is that he really is willing to speak the truth about what we need to do. Where I minus 1.5, which is that I disagree with him on his priorities. So he has substantial, and I do in Simpson Bowles as well. There are substantial tax cuts for people at upper income and for large corporations on the theory that that will trickle down to lower income people. At the same time that senior citizens and others at the lower end of the ladder are asked to take sacrifices. So I would reverse those priorities, tell everybody in the upper income brackets, I would include myself, I guess, as one of them, we have to pay higher taxes and we all have to feel the pain, but not those most vulnerable in our country. I think we should take a pass on them, and the rest of us have to carry.
Well, the idea is lowering taxes is a way to grow the economy, to create jobs, and to give people actually a chance to pay off their own bills with their own money because they'll have jobs. So look,
I know the theory, and it's a respectable theory. If taxes are too high, companies flee the United States, and that's a fact and a problem. But remember, George Bush promised through his tax cuts to grow the economy, and we ended up with trillions of dollars of debt. And George Bush 1 called Ronald Reagan's theory that you can cut taxes and increase defense spending and still balance your budget as voodoo economics. So I don't believe there's ever been any evidence that if we go back to the William Jefferson Clinton level of taxation, where we took a $300 billion deficit and ended up with $1 trillion surplus, that there's anything wrong with the tax levels of the
William Jefferson Clinton, right?
Yeah. I never call him that. I don't know why I did. So there's an honest debate about where taxes can be too much. Andrew Cuomo happens to agree with Paul Ryan.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And so there's a good debate within the center of the Democratic Party as to where taxation is too high. And I do credit Paul Ryan for talking about reforming Social Security as well as Medicare, where really the big deficit numbers are.
And here's my question about it. You've had all week people gunning for Paul Ryan and saying this is a W. Wasserman Schultz said it's a death trap for seniors. It's like a tornado through a nursing home. All this kind of, forget the rhetoric discussion we had a couple months ago, because it's going off the rails now. But my question is, if that works with the public, which it very well could, because people are squeamish about benefits modifications of any kind, where do we go from there? I mean, we have to have this discussion.
Well, there's only one person that can rise above demagogic rhetoric from my own party. Every time somebody mentions Social Security, we accuse people of being hard-hearted against seniors, and that is President Obama. And back in the Reagan years, it was Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill who somehow shook hands and said, and Patrick Moynihan, who shook hands and said, let's all hold hands together and make sure Social Security is solvent, but we have to do it together as Republicans and Democrats. There's only one person that the entire country elects who ran above partisan politics as a purple American. It's one of the reasons I was inspired to name my column Purple Nation was Barack Obama. President Obama has disappointed me greatly in distancing himself while faintly embracing, that's a hard thing to do, the Simpson Bowles Commission report, which, as I said, I don't agree with all of it. I don't think they do enough about raising taxes and having all of us feel the pain. There were some compromises.
All right, but Lanny, Mary Catherine's point is a good one. Why did Democrats always demonize? I mean, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's, by the way, now head of the Democratic of the DNC, essentially saying that old people are going to die. I mean, she said that yesterday with the Paul Ryan plan. We had Congressman Clyburn on yesterday who said the people are going to go homeless with Paul Ryan's plan. And they went homeless because of Ronald Reagan in the 80s, and that's why we had all these problems, and we're going to see more and more people become homeless with Paul Ryan's plan. I mean, why do they demonize Republicans' plan like that? I mean, do we really think that's going to happen? Do we really think Granny's going to die if we have this Paul Ryan plan put in place?
Well, she's reflecting my opening comment. I think it's hyperbole. I wish she wouldn't use those types of expressions. I don't agree with them, so at least I take your point. But I think Debbie, who is a really great public servant, and Congressman Clyburn and myself do see that where Congressman Ryan is willing to cut taxes for the wealthy and for corporations, he is asking people on Medicare, people on Medicaid, to take a sacrifice. But I think that Congressman Ryan is brave, and Democrats, rather than using rhetoric, should say, look, we disagree with your priorities, but we need now all to get together and tackle this thing, because remember, we're fighting over about $7 billion between shutting the government down and not.
Yeah.
That's where we're down to. This is so ridiculous as an example of partisanship gone crazy that if this government shuts down over a $7 billion gap, everyone is going to be blamed, especially President Obama. And that's why this has got to be solved. And then we have to tackle a $13, $14 trillion.
That's where the real fight is going to be, and that's where the real battle lies ahead. All right, Lanny, always good to talk to you. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you.
Lanny Davis, former Clinton White House counsel, here on the Morning